we touched on it a little bit, but do you guys have any tips for filmmakers out there listening to this to try and stay motivated and creative during this difficult time? What are you doing to sit down and still work on stuff right now?
Yeah, I think
So
it's
go
literally
ahead.
sorry, Alex, if I just real quick and then you jump right in. But I think it's super important to pick up that that pen and pad in moments like this because there's everything's happening. This is and this is a moment for you to recollect and find uh, how or even your perspective. Don't think that your perspective doesn't matter. And as a filmmaker, and if you're starting out or whether you're seasoned and veteran, just remind yourself that you have a perspective and you have a voice. And if you can, hone in on it, you can create something really unique. And I don't think people, they don't focus on that to the point where they're putting out enough content. I think people just, they get stuck with how am I going to write this, perfectly instead of trying to put something out that you can refine. Don't ever think that you can't refine something. Everyone always tells you your first draft of whatever isn't going to be, what you imagine or what you hope, just because there's always going to be things you need to change and you're going to realize that. But the great thing is that you have time for that. We have time to make adjustments. We have time to do these things, but you have to start with the first step. And the first step is getting the idea out of your brain. So that pen and pad or that PC, that laptop, whatever works for you, whatever the best method is, but don't, at the moment you have an idea, don't stifle it. Don't say I'll write it later, because I promise you, if you get to that point, you might forget it. You don't want to forget any idea, as small as it is, as you think it is at the moment. It could blossom into something beautiful. So don't hesitate when you have an idea. Write it down, get it out, because it can, you could end up doing addition with it. You could plus it to something else, and it turns into it. Something really cool. So yeah, that's just my piece. Don't deny yourself an idea because for whatever reason your fear, your doubt, or you'll do it later. Don't just do it. Just do it. You got time. Let's start writing some cool stuff.
Yeah, so that was really beautiful and motivational. So I'm not much of a motivational speaker, but what I would say is you just got to play to your strengths. Uh, for us, for example, I'll tell you what we're trying to do, and hopefully that'll provide some color for people who are in this industry right now and have no idea what to do. So we looked at it as an opportunity to try to focus on ways in which we can come out of this. I mean, this crisis will end at some point. We don't know when, but at some point it'll be over. And what can we do between now and then to make sure that when it's over, we're in a position to capitalize on this film that we just spent all this time and money and people's hearts are poured into it, right? So what we're doing is focusing on our vignettes right now because we need to create. With this extra time, we need to continue creating. We need to continue being out, and showing our brand online. But also, we need to, create more capital so that we can have an even bigger launch for Forgive Us than we originally hoped. Right. So it's really hard to do that right now when small businesses are shutting down and everything else is being, so strapped for cash. But one area that we just happen to be recently focused on that isn't strapped for cash right now, that is still operating, is in the political realm. So these campaigns are really heating up right now. And we've actually just shot a campaign vignette for, like I mentioned earlier, a politician, local Atlanta politician who's got an amazing story, whose messages are right in line with our values as a company and as people, who can make a really big impact in our hometown. And so we don't have to compromise on, a financial goal. Just we don't have to compromise on our morals just to hit a financial goal with working with someone like that. So finding more people like him who their campaigns are highly important and they're not predicated on whether or not COVID's happening. And even more so now than ever, they have extra funding to point toward online pursuits as opposed to their events and things like that, which are getting shut down. So that's like a very uniquely our story, right? That's not something that everybody can just go out and do. But my point is, you've got to play to your strengths. We happen to have produced one of these before. We sat down and looked at what's going on right now. We just decided that's a market that shouldn't be shutting down, and we can still maintain our momentum by going that direction. And we're doing it, and we'll see if it works or not. But I think that I would, on top of what Duncan said to everyone else who's in this industry, focus on whatever you do well and really double down on that right now, because you're going to need to, you're going to need to have that extra boost to get over whatever this hump looks like over the next few to, longer months.
Yeah, play to your strengths. Yeah, like you said. It's just like being on set. Like some things come up and you just got to deal with it. You can complain about it, sure, but then you got to figure out what you're going to do next. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And like I've been saying, everybody does need to take time to for themselves to just kind of just chill out, and you got to have your freak out time because things are very stressful. But I know for myself, when I've switched over from, this is my time to freak out or chill out for my mental health, and then I switch over to, I could be working, but now I'm just being lazy. Like I know that about myself personally, where that line is, and I'm sure a lot of other writers and other creators are having the same thing. Like I'm taking a little bit too extra time to for my chill out time. Like this is time that I'm actually okay, but I could be writing right now, but I'm choosing to use that as an excuse. So you got to find that line where that is, and I'm sure that's difficult for a lot of people, but it's kind of difficult all the time, right? Being a creator, like finding time to write or paint or make music or anything, you got to make that time, and it's just literally the same thing. It's just the world has ended for a minute. It's the only difference, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, sir.